everybody, and welcome back to the Talking Wolves podcast. We're back for another episode. We're going to be talking about the start of the season. We're going to be talking about the transfer window. Obviously, now the international window is shut. Lots of deals have been done and completed since the last time we spoke on a podcast. As you can see today, we've got some different guests alongside me. We've got Finn. Finn, how's it going, man?
Yeah, all good, thank you. I won't be as quite happier than last time anyway. Yeah, what was it? Getting by. I'm more than getting by now. I'm all right, thanks, mate. How are you?
I hope so. Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. And we've got Tom as well, Todd Parker. We've not had him on the podcast before, but Tom, how's it going, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Just waiting for this international break to just come and go, basically. I'm already fed up. It's ridiculous.
It's the worst time. I know. But yeah, we've got Tom involved. You guys who watch the fans react would have seen Tom since the start of lockdown. Actually been doing him and obviously been helping with some blog posts on the website as well, so it's great to have him on. And another new addition to the podcast is our brand new podcast sponsor. We're delighted to be sponsored and partnered alongside Manscaped. Of course, they're an official partner of Wolves as well. You can get a discount off some Manscaped goodies, is that the right word? Manscaped merch, products is probably the right word. Anyway, you can use the discount code Talking Wolves and get 20% off. So it's just at manscaped.com and you'll get free shipping and 20% off with the code Talking Wolves. So be sure to check them out, and a big thanks to them for helping us and partnering with us for our podcast for the next few weeks anyway. So as always, we're going to start off with talking about the results and what has happened so far since the start of the season. We'll talk a little bit more about the transfers as well, and we'll have your questions that were sent in on social media as well. But we will kick off with the first game of the season. It was a 2-0 victory over Sheffield United for Wolves to kick off the Premier League after a very disjointed pre-season. Finn, 2 goals in 6 minutes. We barely scored a goal in the first half last season, and to score 2 goals in the first 6 minutes of a new season, I think everyone's rubbing their hands together thinking, this is going to be a hell of a season.
Yeah, I don't think it's ever going to get better than that, is it? That was the best 7 minutes of the season. We should have valued them when they happened, but no, yeah, really shocking start. There were some crazy stats about, I think Talking Wolves put them out, didn't we, about like how we'd never scored a goal or something in the first 10 minutes, or I can't remember, but they were crazy. You can go back and have a look. I remember being shocked by them, but no, yeah, very unlike Wolves to start like that, and as I said, it's probably the best 7 minutes, the only 7 minutes you could say we've really played really well this season, arguably. So, no, yeah, it was entertaining, but the rest of the game, it was classic. When Wolves go 2-0 up, it's no matter when we score them, it's going to be right. Let's see this out. Let's get the clean sheet, and Nuno will be happy with that.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, it was the quickest a team had scored 2 goals in the Premier League before. I think, or one for a number of years anyway. So yeah, it was a cracking start. And Tom, I think after such a dodgy pre-season for most teams really, but Wolves included, obviously with the international break, or starting a little bit later with Europe, I think we couldn't have got off to a better start, really, could we?
Yeah, I mean, some of the players came back on the Thursday, didn't they? And we played on the Sunday. So to be honest, I was expecting like a 1-1 or something, a little bit, just like a muted game. But
yeah,
I mean, it was like Nuno said in his post-match interview. They knew that Sheffield United were going to race out the blocks, so they tried to just do it better, and we did. To be honest, it was a surprise. I don't think I was sort of sitting there thinking, geez, this Wolves 4.0 is like it's a real it's like a real coked up attack, isn't it? It was crazy. But I mean, yeah, it was good to see us actually sort of get at teams a little bit more. But then, like Finn said, you just knew as soon as we were 2-0 up, even after about 7 or 8 minutes, that we were just gonna basically see out the game for another 80 minutes, and that's basically what happened. Although Saiz could have had a hat-trick, interestingly. So
yeah, I saw sort of the start of that weird advanced centre-back role that I've seen, not so much in the last game or so, but especially the Sheffield United and even the Manchester City game, where the centre-backs just seem to burst forward. Saiz obviously scoring his goal from the header. I think he had another half chance from a corner, and then that chance where did he hit the woodwork in the end? I think
Ramsdale palmed it onto the post.
Yeah, that was a ridiculous run, and obviously him and Jimenez could have had a bite there, and there were chances for Wolves to kill off the game. Sheffield United, I think, had the half chance, didn't they, at the start of the second half where they hit the woodwork, but for a team that had such a bad pre-season, you could say, to kick off with a result like that, I thought after 6 minutes we were going to win the Premier League after that result.
I reckon Nuno was trying to sort of copy Wilder's system of overlapping centre backs and just like do them at their own game sort of thing. It worked.
That must be what it was, but and Jimenez's goal as well. Podence left Lundstram on his backside, and it was a lovely cushion finish. Finn, how did your supporters take that one?
It was nice. You never know. You never know how the season's going to go, how many he's going to score, and to get one within a few minutes was nice. But it went down very well. But it was a good goal all round, as you say, leaving Lundstram flat on his arse, and then the finish from Jimenez. It was like surely he's gonna. I mean, I would have taken probably 3 touches, let alone hit it that first time. It was unbelievable. But no, it was a good. So was it Sace? It was Sace got the other one, wasn't it? They got the corner as well. Yeah, because I remember with my FPL, who did I go for in the end? I didn't put Sace in, and then he scored, classic. And then he's been doing well this season, Sace. But it went down very well. The more really the first 2 fixtures, the more you see other games, for example, like Sheffield United's games and Man City's games, the less impressive they look. Do you know what I mean? Like with everyone beating Sheffield United so far, and people actually going up against Man City and doing well, because I know we'll get onto that in a minute, but they are looking less and less impressive by the game. But I think this season's going to be a freakish season anyway. You can't really take one game, as you say, like with Villa and stuff like that. You just can't take a game as like context anymore. It's so strange. It's going to be an entertaining one, I think.
Yeah, as Nuno says, we take every game at a time, or something like that. Anyway, I'm sure that's what he says.
He's said the same thing for the past 3 years, hasn't he?
Tough team. Next one will be tough.
Yeah.
That's what
Well, we move on now to the EFL Cup. After such a decent start to the season, I think Wolves fans were looking towards this game and thinking, let's go on a little cup run this season. Against Stoke, the next draw came out and it was going to be Gillingham or Coventry. Turned out it was going to be Gillingham. And then the lineup came out, and I think Wolves fans are thinking, Nuno's going for this. This looks interesting. I will refresh everybody's memories of the lineup for that game, because I'm sure most of us have forgot the game already. We started John Ruddy in goal, Bolly, Cody and Sace. Yes, our main back 3 across the back. Oscar and Vinagre as the wing backs. Then Duncan Neves and Vitor Ferreira or Vitinha in the middle. And then Adama starting up front with Fabio Silva. And it somehow finished 1-0 to Stoke. We even brought on Pedro Neto, Raul Jimenez and Daniel Podence. Finn, I mean, as I said, I think everyone's trying to forget this game, but this was an absolute shocker and a bit of a non-event in the end.
Yeah, and as you say, with those subs, it wasn't as if we brought Silva, Adama off. It was like we had 8 attackers on the pitch at the end. It's maybe why we conceded. But yeah, it was like Stoke were playing a second team as well. The bloke that scored, I think it was his first game or something as a sub. But I remember it was the first game I'd ever live streamed online, and I just felt confident the first half, despite nothing clicking. We're used to a 0-0 first half, and I thought Fabio Silva showed some very classy touches. Vitinha looked good on the ball, but there was no penetration, if that's the right word to use. There was for all the class we had on the ball. I can't remember many shots, and the only real one that sticks out was the Fabio Silva one, which I wish he never had, because it's the only thing we've really got to judge him off at the moment. And I just felt really sorry for him. But as when people were worrying about him and stuff, at that game, despite missing that, I wasn't worried about him, Vitinha. I think the wing backs were a key thing there. I mean, obviously both of them. Did Berg go in the end? I don't think he did, but he was meant to be going. So we've upgraded those areas now. And that team, even without them, it should be winning, shouldn't it? But as you say, I've sort of drowned it out, even though Stoke have beat Villa as well, haven't they? They're in the quarters now.
They're doing all right, to be fair.
That could have been us. Look what you could have won, but no. Yeah, we move on. Wanted the FA Cup anyway.
We're not a cup team, are we? Realistically, I think apart from
definitely not the League Cup. No,
I think we've never really done particularly well in that. FA Cup, obviously, we've done pretty well. But yeah, it was. It was probably just to back up what Finn said. It was just an awful game, wasn't it? When Fabio Silva missed, I was kind of half expecting like an absolute Twitter meltdown. Of the 35 million for an unproven teenager.
There were some of those.
It's just like I just felt bad for him, because it's obviously like people are going to just criticise every little thing he does because he's our record transfer, and they want something to like moan at, I guess, if that's the right thing to say.
Yeah.
but it was atrocious. It was very similar to our first season in the Premier League, where teams that sat back, we just didn't have any sort of clue how to get past them, and we'd sort of fixed it last year. I think we gained a lot more points against the bottom half teams than we did the season prior, but it was just awful. I'm not really sure why we were that bad. I mean, even João Moutinho looked poor. He came on, didn't he, or did he start? I can't quite remember.
No, Zhao didn't, but I mean, that game was just a complete blur. So anyone could have played.
I mean, Neves played. I think I might be getting him mixed up with Neves. I think that game sort of showed that we needed just one extra body in midfield, like not as in more players, but just another option. Because I think eventually that Dendoncker, Neves, and Moutinho have played so much football. It's ridiculous how many games they've played. So I don't know. Yeah,
but that midfield in a Premier League game, you wouldn't turn your nose up at it, would you? Neves,
well, exactly.
Dendoncker, Vitinha. It's so strange.
That's the thing. It's like I'm not sure why we couldn't break them down, because it's not, you know, it's not like we were playing particularly badly. I think we just weren't. There was just nothing going forward. I think that's kind of, obviously we'll get onto it in a bit, but I think that's kind of like the theme, isn't it, at the moment?
Yeah. Well, I think Dendonker's a player that everyone sort of doesn't realise how much he plays either. Like, I think for the last 2 years, he's like played level like the most. I say that first season he definitely didn't, obviously, but
yeah.
Last season he was like the player that's played the most games, level with like Moutinho and Patricio, I think.
I was gonna say,
and Jimenez.
I was gonna say I don't remember him not playing. Like, he's up,
because if he wasn't playing midfield, he was playing centre back,
yeah,
wasn't he,
yeah.
for last season? And he played a lot in Europe. Whenever there was rotation, he just seemed to be one of the players there. So he's a player, and I mean, it proved on Sunday. You know, I think he's very important, and I think he's more valuable than what a lot of fans realise.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I thought, looking at the lineup, I'm thinking, here we go, Wolves are going for it, and the result was a complete disaster, really. Like you said earlier, Finn, I think there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There were like 5 or 6 attackers on the pitch towards the end of the game. We just still couldn't break them down. So Stoke, obviously they've gone on to beat Villa as well. We'll see how they get on, but a bit of a disastrous performance that for Wolves. That leads us on to the Manchester City game. A 3-1 defeat to City. If you said that at the start of the season, I don't think anyone would have been too bothered, because City are arguably one of the best teams in the world. But Finn, that first half performance sort of cost us that game, didn't it, really?
Yeah, and I didn't really expect much from it. I know it's a cliche thing and we like to think we're more important than we are, but the fans, especially in the games against Man City last season, I think we should take part of the credit for it. I don't think, like, as you saw, without the fans we didn't do as well, but I think we really carried us last season, and I wasn't expecting too much this season because of that. And as you say, 3-1. Did we lose 3-0 in the first season? And it was sort of like when Bolly got sent off, and it was like, hey-oh, it's Man City. But then seeing what we did last season, are you expecting more? But they played really, really well that first 20, 30 minutes. They could have scored 4, 5. I mean, we kept them out well, and then Sace's I just don't know what he was doing. Off the back of a man of the match performance in the Sheffield United game, and then you just don't go to ground there. That's the thing with Sace, isn't it? That he just sometimes just like, what? I'm sure he goes, what have I just done?
Rash,
like,
isn't he, sometimes?
Yeah, I think it's just that sort of personality. I love him, but that's the downside of it. I bet it must just be like an out of body thing. He's like, what have I just done? But no, yeah, that's it's all sort of went downhill from there. But that I say the first 7 minutes of Sheffield United, maybe 20 minutes in that Man City game as well, we looked dominant, and we just weren't clinical enough. I think you couldn't really say many of them were sitters. Maybe Jimenez's one he had before the header, and Podence was unlucky with the chip. But then again, like a top team would have probably got 3 goals out of that, wouldn't they? So we go on. Yeah, as you say, a loss to Man City. It's not too bad, and we learned a lot from that game.
I think you know, against those sort of teams. I mean, we've been a Premier League team. Now? This is our 3rd season, so we should know this already. But against those top teams, you have to take your opportunities.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we could have 5 chances and miss every single one, but City will go the other end and have 1 and score. And I think that we did see that at times. We held them quite well for 20 minutes, and like you say, one stupid mistake from us via Sace, and they got that opening goal, and that allowed them really to get into the game. Tom, what did you think of Adama at right wing back? Because for me, that first half was just
never again.
It was horrible.
Never again. To be honest, the first half defensively was an absolute mess. It really, I remember watching it thinking they are going to absolutely tear us apart, because the positioning was just all over the place. And the problem is that when Adama loses a ball, it tends to be, I think, Dendoncker that comes in at right wing back to cover for him sometimes. But I tell you what, I was so glad we were signing Semedo. I mean, that was perfect timing. I think we signed him pretty much at half time, didn't we? Because I remember Tim
yeah, it was on that
Tim
day,
Spears tweeted, "Oh well, that was a terrible first half, but we've just signed Nelson Semedo, so there you go." Which I mean, I wasn't massively impressed on his first game, but he definitely looked a lot better against Fulham. But yeah, Adama just. To be honest, after his game last season, which I think is a year today, wasn't it?
It is at the time of recording, yeah.
He pocketed Sterling, and I thought, tell you what, this could be like a stroke of genius from Nuno again. But since then, it's like he's almost got worse at defending. He just has no awareness.
Just his concentration, his awareness is just non-existent.
He sort of just walks around, and the problem is when you've got a player that sort of essentially waits for the ball. Is that he's not a proactive player, and you need someone like that in at right wing back who's gonna, see the danger and then see the opportunity to actually get forward from that. And I don't think Adama does that. He's good as like a winger that you can feed the ball into and just let him run at players. But when he's actually got, I think sometimes when he's actually got to concentrate on what he's doing, I think he almost just overthinks it and confuses himself. But yeah, I really hope that we don't have to do that ever again. And I don't think we do, but I think we've got good options there now, to be fair. So they've addressed it.
Yeah,
which was what we wanted, so can't complain too much there.
He's literally got all the tools to be the perfect footballer,
really does,
Adama Traoré, but his awareness and his just footballing brain just don't. If they worked, he would be. I think we say it every podcast. He'd probably be one of the best players in the world. It's ridiculous, and it's like you see it in some games, even when he plays as winger. Obviously, we didn't really see much of him against Fulham, but. You just watch him and you say he does one thing and just stands still. I'm like, if you move over to the wing or onto the last man, you're gonna get a chance here. But he just moves and watches everyone else do the work. It's really frustrating as a fan. And that first half against City especially was just, it was horrific.
And in that in the Sheffield United game, there was in the second half, was it Egan on an early yellow, and there was about 3 or 4 times when Adama got moved up front, and instead of running at him, he just shoot from 25 yards or something. I'm like, what are you doing? Get him, since watching that with Mourinho with the Tottenham documentary, I'm like, we need to be awful people, run at people on yellows. And nice. I don't think he's got that, you know what I mean? I don't think whether he's right, instead of shooting from 25 yards, which isn't really going to go in here unless I'm playing Man City, like it normally does for him. Just that those sort of things you're taught at 7, 8 as a footballer. It's strange.
That's just common sense. If you got 2 players on a certain side that are booked, you're just going to attack that side because all they have to do is leave out a trailing foot, and you're going to get them sent off, aren't you?
Exactly.
So it's.
Would you guys have cashed in on him this summer? Because the amount of money we could have got for him was ridiculous. We were talking 70, 80 million, which I was like, well.
If the offers were right, if someone genuinely came in and said, right, there's 80 million on the table, I think we'll sort of be daft to say no.
Yeah.
Because there's always that question about him, isn't it? Like, will he really improve again, to the same level as he did last season?
The thing is, he can improve on 4 goals, the amount of media hype around him, but the fact's already got 4 goals. I know he got quite a lot of assists, but surely... he
could add to that.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
Was it the Sheffield United game as well where he went through, and he could have laid off Jimenez, and Jimenez would have had an easy goal, but he chose to shoot as well.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the same situation.
Yeah.
Just like players, I think sometimes Adama, it's almost as if he's thinking in his head, right, I've run 30 yards, taken on 5 players, so it's my turn to have a shot. People will remember you more if you laid that off for Jimenez and scored, because Jimenez wouldn't get any plaudits, you'd still get the plaudits because you've just gone on an amazing run and laid the ball off to him. And I think
Like
sometimes
that,
players are very quick to forget that as well. It's just like you say, it's like under 7s, under 8s football, because all they want to do is score goals, and they all think they want to be a striker.
Well,
I ain't bothered. Like, if you cleared the ball off the line and we went down the other end and scored, I ain't bothered who scored. I'll be cheering you on because you've just saved a certain goal.
I don't think La Masia helped him in that aspect because there was something on the Athletic that the players, they used to just pass the ball to him. They basically played him as like a wing back or like a full back essentially, and they would just pass the ball to him and get him to run.
And he'd run.
So the problem is, even like you would have thought, wouldn't you, that one of the greatest ever academies would teach a player how to play football positionally. It's a
Take
bit,
the ball, pass the ball.
It's a bit like Jeremy Lynch. Like, he was probably better than Messi on the ball, but off the ball he was probably rubbish.
Yeah. The thing is, though, that's one of the reasons they got rid of him, because he obviously wasn't technically, ready enough to play. But like, if they're training him like that and other players think he's that good, he's not going to pass the ball, is he?
No.
Like, at that level as well, if he still had that pace at the age of 17, 18, he's going to wreck any defence in the world, really. So it's one of the, he has genuinely still got all the tools to be and still become, if he wants to, a very, very good to possibly world-class talent. If he can just, I hate saying it, but if he can improve that end product very slightly, because he's improved it loads last season.
Yeah.
So if he can still take it another step and another level up, like you say, adding 1 or 2 more assists to the game or adding a few more goals. We need to see him, other than the 2 City goals, I think his other 2 goals were long ranges, weren't they? One was against Spurs and the other one was against City. If we can get him 1-2s with Jimenez and so on, get him into the area and smashing them from 7 or 8 yards out,
Well, he got that one against Braga as well, which was a good finish, and you just think, why can't he do that more often? I think his crossing is just on a completely different level to his first season.
His crossing is better. He's got better accuracy ratings and stuff than De Bruyne.
Yeah, his crossing is actually very
good,
brilliant. Genuinely, if you look at most of the time, he finds someone. I think him and Jimenez is just like perfect, really, because he floats them perfectly, and Jimenez has got the ability to just either guide it or just power it. So yeah, I mean, his crossing has been easily his biggest improvement, because. I remember, was it not to bring it up again, but the Watford game, the semi-final. When we brought him on, he went for a cross and he just literally hooked it into the stands. And if that was this season, he would have got that, or like last season, he would have got that on the money. So yeah, I mean, there's a way to go for him, but he'll be probably our best player if he can actually learn how to shoot better.
I realise we've just gone on a big Adama thing, Dave, but just to end it, I said it 3 years ago, mate. He's got to run it into the net. One of the first ever Talking Wolves podcasts. I said, just run it into the net. That's what he's got to start doing.
One day.
We'll see.
Hopefully, and he'll just lift up his shirt and it'll be your face on it. Unfortunately, we do have to move on. We have to talk about arguably one of the worst performances we've seen, possibly in the Nuno era. A 4-0 away defeat to West Ham. I don't even know where we want to start with this one, really. Finn, would you label it as one of the worst under Nuno, do you think?
Definitely. I think, did he say something similar himself, or so was it Cody or someone said something similar? Do you know what? If we'd have done this straight after the match, I'd have been more reactive. But seeing what they did to Leicester as well, you sort of go, I know, like I said, you can't tell, but you're like, oh, are we that bad? Are we the Farmers? I
think it's just
but no, I think, like with Leicester playing the same formation as well, they had a clear tactical game plan to undo what we were doing. Same with Leicester as well, and they just did it. And Mikel Antonio, I love him. I mean, he tears us to shreds every time. And obviously we dealt with him well before. I mean, was it 4 games against West Ham, no goals conceded, 4 wins since we'd come up? So it had to end at some point, and we got a really good record in London. So obviously it was all going to go the opposite way. But no, I was really impressed with them. How they I don't know how 11 players can almost look like there was 22. You know, like when we were attacking, there was no space. Yet when they were attacking, it was 3 against 3 with Bowen, Fornells, Antonio on our back 3 because Semedo and Vinagre had gone walkabouts, and I was just really impressed with them. But Wolves made it easy for them as well. They just give it with those last 2 goals. It's just like that, especially the Haller one. It's just like everyone's just stood still. It's like, come on, lads.
Yeah. That was
embarrassing. That was the one that annoyed me the most because they'd basically just given up.
And for a team like us that don't score many goals, for example, Fulham the other day, it's a good game to get the goal difference up. And when we only score 1 or 2, you can't be being beaten 4-0 because, like me, you and Matt have said, David, like you're not going to get anywhere with the negative goal difference that we always have. So yeah, it's just annoying in that sense. But I know, we'll probably go into it a bit more. I don't know what you thought, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, I did my fans react, and I felt a little bit bad afterwards because I was quite reactionary. I called the performance a disgrace, but I mean, to be honest, in my opinion, I still think it was really because I think if there's one thing that really annoyed me, it was just they essentially gave up almost after 2-0. The defence were just. I've never seen worse defending. Although I have to say I was comforted by Tim Nash after the game, who said that I think on the same day we lost 4-0 to Barnsley. So, and there was only one player left from that team, which ironically was Connor Cody.
That relaxed everyone.
And
really,
to be honest,
cheers, Tim.
I think that really put it into perspective for me. I was just like, do you know what? It's not that bad. We could have been under Walter Zenga still. No, in all seriousness, it was bad. Honestly, I think as soon as we went 1-0 down, I just couldn't see. It sounds really negative, but I just couldn't see how we were going to get back into it because they were all over us at that point. Yeah. I think really the only bright spark was again Pedro Neto, who, for me, has got he's probably got one of the highest ceilings out of our attackers, to be honest. His work rate was brilliant compared to everyone else. The midfield was just really poor as well. Bolly, uncharacteristically poor. Although I say that, he's not been fantastic post restart. No. He's looked very shaky and sometimes almost a bit like confused, or he gets pulled out of position sometimes, and he gets caught ball watching. I think. I think they've switched him, haven't they, to right centre back. Yeah. Whereas he some of his strongest performances were at left centre back. But obviously we're sort of accommodating Saiss. But I'm kind of hoping that we can try and shift him back over to the right, to the left. Sorry. I was fairly annoyed at Connor Cody as well. I think he wasn't great. Saiss for I think it was for the 4th goal. God,
that was. Yeah,
he didn't even jump. I don't even think he jumps for that, which is just, I don't know, horrendous. But I think attacking as well, there was just nothing. There was genuinely nothing.
Yeah.
I
don't know how they did it.
Do you think that's not been the story of the season though for Wolves? Like, just we're meant to be this 4.0, this more attacking, more possession based team. Yes, we're having the ball, but we still. Not quite.
It's
doing enough with it. Yeah. Like we shot in terms of shots on target. We had 1 against City, which was our goal. We had 2 against West Ham. We had very little as well against Sheffield United. So like, what is it? It's
been the same post restart though, hasn't it? Like ever since we've come back, even like the first West Ham game that we won 2-0, I think ever since then we haven't quite looked the same going forward. I'm not sure what it is. We just didn't create any chances. To be honest, when Nuno said about this new style and stuff, I genuinely thought he was going to change to 4 at the back. I genuinely thought, right, we're going to go 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, something like that, and we're gonna just absolutely like pummel teams, and play with like a high press. But
I think that would still like you've still got more numbers going forward then, haven't you? But you've still got your standard 3 up top. You've still got 3 in midfield. Like,
yeah, I don't.
I think it would suit the players that we've got as well.
I don't see what Nuno doesn't see in it, because it's not like we're going to be losing. I think my concern would be, do we have centre backs good enough to play back to?
That's a fair
and
comment, yeah.
I don't think we do. As much as we all love Bolly, his recent performances, with only one other player next to him, I think we could probably get pulled pulled apart quite easily. And we've seen that. We saw that in the West Ham game. We just got pulled apart because Semedo and Vinagre were so high that there was just we couldn't really do anything. And obviously, it was a shame for Vinagre. I mean, that was his last game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's a shame for him, obviously, to go out like that, really. And I'm guessing that we're probably going to sell him at the end of the loan. I can't imagine, unless it's for their development, his development. But yeah, like you say, I think it's chance creation that's our issue. And as much as we love Nuno, I think sometimes the style of football is really difficult to watch.
It's one of. I think we've said that before. It's one of those where when you're winning, you're not too bothered, but when you do have a defeat, you sort of look at it and think, "Damn, we do play dreadful football sometimes, don't we?" Like,
I saw someone call him the Portuguese Tony Pulis.
Very Pulis.
Very Pulis.
Yeah, that was it. Peri Pulis. I was just like, well, on the basis of some games, you could probably make a case for it, but I was like, that's a bit harsh, to be honest.
Yeah. In terms of possession in that game, by the way, in the 4-0 defeat, Wolves had 65% of the ball. And yeah,
only one stat that matters, though, isn't there? That's what they always say.
Yeah. But like you said earlier, I think like even against Leicester as well, I saw it, the work rate of Bowen and Antonio was ridiculous.
He looks good this year,
They show that. Yeah, he looks really good. He looks sharp, and just like that quick free kick again at the start of the game just tore Stace apart, and gave them the lead, and obviously they got that into the game. But like you said, I think after 2 goals, we just gave up really. That Jimenez own goal, and then the Haller header towards the end. It's just like every time a goal went in, you're like, because we looked pretty comfortable before their first goal. Every time a goal went in, you're like, what is going on here? Like, I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Yeah, and with
just
the way
never felt like that again as a Wolves fan under Nuno. I've never felt like that. I'm there like, what has gone on?
Yeah, and the way they, normally when we say with Wolves, like, when we're 1-0 up, it's fine, we're going to do it. I felt like that, especially when they got the 1 and the way they were set up. You just thought, God, we're in for a long one here, because you're going to have to commit men forward, and then they're going to have fun with the back three as they did. But no, yeah, as you were saying with that, I think. To be fair, was it Tim Spears that said Wolves 4.0? In Nuno's defence, he never actually said this 4.0.
It's never actually come out. Yeah,
no,
yeah.
He did say it was
never
like a
actually
news
come out
cycle, didn't he?
Yeah.
He said in his like big pre-season interview that he wanted to change the style of play. He said he wanted to dominate more, score more goals, and then got rid of our two of our most creative outlets.
But no, yeah, it was ironic as well that we lost 4-0. Like, if that was another team, that's so fun. Like 4.0 and then lose 4-0. Like, if we were like a Man United or something, the amount of memes there would have been about that. But no, yeah, I think that's when you were saying about like selling Traore. Sorry to go back to it quickly, but like, when I automatically go, no, I don't want to lose him, because he's one of the only times sometimes where you can have fun watching Wolves. Like, there's not much else apart from when he goes on one of his runs.
Yeah.
The way we play, you do sometimes need just to keep your eyes open a bit. Oh, there we go, he's ran 50 yards. You know what I mean? So it's sometimes it's tough.
Yeah, but at the same time, on the flip side of that, when we are playing well, it is good to watch.
Yeah,
it is really good to watch. Yeah. So I think we just want to try and get a bit more positivity and a bit more, sharpness. And if we can have a fully fit Wolves team, because we have had a couple of injury problems already, it'd be interesting to see how we get on. But Wolves did get back to winning ways right before international break. Good timing. It was a vital 3 points. Beat Fulham this weekend. Pedro Neto with the only goal of the game.
What a player.
And again, Tom, like you said earlier, I think he was one of the players that has shone this so far this season,
brilliant.
hasn't he?
I love him to bits. He's honestly, when we first signed him, I mean, obviously all the talking bollocks stuff came out.
Yes,
shut them down pretty quickly. Yeah, obviously when we first signed him, to be honest, I was really confused. I was like, I've never heard of either of these players, and he's probably been, I'd say, our most underrated sign. Well, not underrated. But, what's the word for it? Like under the radar,
underappreciated,
under the radar signing. Like, no one really talks about Pedro Neto. And if it wasn't for VAR last season, he would have had quite a few goals, and some big goals as well. I mean, he scored away at Anfield, and it was a good goal as well. And his finishing is superb. I hear a lot of people. I've seen quite a lot of people say, love him or hate him, Jota is our best. He's our most clinical winger. But I genuinely think Pedro Neto is the player that could fill his shoes. He reminds me of Jota from his he reminds me of Jota on form, running at players, shoots when he gets the chance, and for his size, quite strong as well, and he can shrug players off. There was that one against the Bournemouth game last season, towards the end of last season, where he just ran past about 2 or 3 players. Okay, the finish was terrible, but that's the sort of, it's very Jota-esque, the way he just gets the ball, runs
deceivingly quick as well, isn't he?
Exactly.
You don't expect him to be as quick as he is. I don't.
He's exactly the same as Jota. He genuinely is. But I personally think he's got a higher ceiling. He's 19, 20, and Jota's 23. So I was really, really happy he got the goal, to be honest, because I think out of any Wolves player, he deserves it the most. I think he could be onto the sort of. I think he'll have the sort of season where I think he gets sort of 8 goals, 8 assists, that sort of range. But I mean, he could prove me wrong and get 10+ goals. But yeah, superb. I mean, I think a lot of Wolves fans have taken to him.
Yeah, Finn, what do you reckon? I think I said on the review after the Fulham game, people keep comparing Jota to the likes of Podence and Neto, and in terms of what all 3 of them brought to the team, I think Jota had trumps over the 2 because he added more goals and more assists. Do you think if Neto and Podence start adding more goals and more assists, they'll be regarded higher than what Jota was?
Yeah, and with Podence, to be honest, I see him a lot more as an assister. I think he has that eye for a clever pass before the goal.
Assister.
Same height, to be fair, 5'4", same height. We measured it out, but yeah, he's sort of the eye for that ball before the goal. Whereas Neto, as you say, he's hard and low, almost like Sylvan Ebanks-Blake-esque. It was never top bins or whatever. You know what I mean? Just hard and low, get it in the corner.
Yeah, clinical.
And probably the opposite of what Tom was saying to begin with, where when he first came in, I was like, am I sure about this guy? He looked quite weak, and I remember that all of a sudden we'd bulked him up massively. I don't know whether we'd done a Bayern Munich on him and whatever we'd been giving him, but he's got bigger, as you say, stronger. Seems to have found a yard of pace. Some brilliant performances in the Europa League seem to give him confidence. And this season, 10 goals wouldn't surprise me at all. I think he's going to have to be one of the main outlets. And I think if you can get that Podence, Jimenez, Neto thing, it's not quite wingers as well sometimes. It's like that asymmetric Neto coming into midfield and Podence staying further up. It looks really, really promising. Obviously not great for Adama, and I'm not sure where he fits in there, because anywhere but wing back, to be honest, play him in CDM, I don't mind. But just not there. And those 3 are looking like the front 3 where I think Neto and Jimenez are going to have to get the goals, because, I mean, Semedo, is he going to have... He looked on Sunday, was it? Sunday, the Fulham game, that he had those Doherty instincts at the back post for those sort of easy tap-ins. So, I think Neto, there's going to have to be maybe double figures, because there's no one else that's going to score. But I back him. I think he's so underrated. I hope you've... bumped him up on FM, Dave, because FIFA have just ruined him.
72, Can't believe
I know.
Can't believe that. That's FIFA for you. It's clueless.
Going back to the performance, though, Tom, a lot of people, I think yourself included, saw the fans react, and Finn, they weren't too happy with the overall performance. Have you had any other thoughts about that? Do you think that was a bit reactionary, or do you stick with that we just weren't great?
It's a bit of both. I did watch it back and thought, you know what? I mean, to be honest, when I was doing the review, I was trying to be as balanced as possible, saying well, we got the 3 points, but we were bad, but we won the game, but it wasn't that great. If you're on some bullshit, be your uncle. But It's to be honest, it was good to get the win. I said the day before, I said, look, I just want to beat Fulham, right? I don't really care. I just want the 3 points, because otherwise it's going to be you're really worrying then if you're not beating Fulham. I was a bit nervous because obviously the history of Mitrovic up against Conor Cody. I think I was sort of sitting there thinking, if this is like the game that we had in the Championship at Craven Cottage, then he's just going to absolutely run him ragged. But it wasn't. We were really solid, actually. I did mention that, I think. The defence was miles better. I thought Max Kilman actually had a good game, to be honest. I think he's got a decent amount of potential. I think he looks like a decent player. I think my only reason why I wouldn't want him to play is because literally every 30 seconds, every time he touches the ball, the commentators are like, "Oh, did you know he used to play futsal?" And I'm like, "I don't." Yes, I know he played foot. It gets a little bit annoying after a while, but he was good. Yeah, no, he looks really good. Was it Sayis at wing back? I think it was. That was
a strange one.
Unai Emery-esque moment from Nuno there. It was a real strange one. I'm a little bit disappointed we didn't get to see a bit more of Keanu Hoover, to be honest. I thought he might come in at centre-back. He's played there for Liverpool, but he's played full-back. He played full-back against us, I think.
I spoke to a Liverpool fan about it who was pretty disappointed that he'd been sold, and he said he believes he'll become one of the best defenders in the world. Genuinely, that's what he said to me. And I said, what, as a wing-back? He goes, no, as a centre-back. Yeah. He says, as a right centre-back, he thinks he would be unbelievable. And he doesn't think his height would be too much of an issue, because I think he's just under 6 foot. And I thought, wow. And this isn't just a weird plastic Liverpool fan. This is a guy that knows his stuff, sort of thing. So
yeah. I was buzzing when we signed him. It came out of nowhere. But yeah, I think again it was just nothing going forward to him. I mean, Semedo, to be fair, we could have scored 2 or 3, but we didn't. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like
Areola made a couple of good saves.
There's always this theme, I think, sometimes with this Wolves team. It's like we should score more goals. And I said during the game, I think 5 at the back sometimes it does hold us back, because we've got all these talented, aggressive, technically gifted wingers that can get at teams. If we played a little bit more like, I don't know, like a Jurgen Klopp Liverpool, where we just press from, well, not like against Aston Villa, but where we press the ball, we play high. We've got 3. Honestly, we've got the perfect midfield for 3 in midfield. We've got Neves, who can kind of be like a kind of sort of an anchor, but he's not like a playmaker. Moutinho's his legs are sort of gone, but he can, he's got an eye for a pass. And then Dendoncker is your box to box. He's perfect. I guess the only issue is the defence, but it was disappointing not to get more goals, to be honest. I would have liked a couple more. I will retract my statement that how disappointed I was, because we didn't win the game, but yeah, performance again just wasn't great. I think we sat back a little bit too much after taking the lead.
Yeah,
and we probably had more chances against Man City. Would you say? I was sort of annoyed that that game could have, like, Kamara's chance, Cabano's chance. We could have easily drawn.
We shouldn't have won that.
Yeah, there was. You had the Semedo chance, but I can't remember many others. Jimenez is 1-on-1 as well.
Jimenez is 1-on-1, yeah.
Kamara's was a sitter. Cabano had a half chance as well. So if you're not careful, that'd have been the first points they've got. And with Fulham, I wouldn't be surprised if HRH has to change his song from, less points than Derby. They might break it. I can't see him getting many points.
They'd be shocking. But yeah, it's 3 points, important 3 points. I think, if Wolves did not get a win and you've gone into lockdown with 3 or 4 games without a win, that's when, it's a little bit concerning.
Lockdown.
But for Wolves to get 3 points, international break,
not.
you know what I mean?
So
it feels like lockdown.
It feels like 2 weeks of boredom.
Yeah. Watching Southgate football. Yeah.
Big Gary. We'll move on now to the transfers. We obviously, since the last podcast, I think we have had the signings of Nelson Semedo, Keanu Hoover, obviously Jota's left, and Ryan A. Nori as well. But the international window is more or less shut now. So guys, I'm just going to ask for your ratings out of 10 very, very quickly, because we've been talking a lot longer than expected. I'm going to ask your ratings out of 10 on these signings and the sales as well. So Finn, we'll start off with Fabio Silva, a rating out of 10. 36 million pounds.
Mate, it could be a 1 or it could be a 10, couldn't it, by the time he's 23? But I'm going to go 8. I think just because of what we needed. Like I think we said on the last one, that we need a player that will. It's like the Harry Kane situation. We need a player that will be happy to be behind Jimenez, and to get, instead of like an Oliveira or players we've been linked with before, a player that can now learn and then take that mantle when things naturally progress. I think it's perfect in that sense. And yeah, as he progresses. If he progresses as we hope, it could be a 10, but I'm going to go with an 8 for what we needed, and let's keep our fingers crossed for that one.
What do you reckon, Tom?
Can I put NA? I don't think he's really played enough for me to actually sort of form an opinion.
With the prospect of signing him,
I would say 100% 8 or 9. I mean, if he reaches his potential, I mean, what a steal 35 million is. We could triple that.
Yeah. Do I say? Yeah, I'll go with an 8 as well. I think very, very highly rated. I think the fee shows that Wolves have got some serious intent of spending high on these very promising young talents. And like you say, I think if the amount of money's right, I think in the future, his value could be well above that as well. Second signing, Finn, Nelson Semedo.
Well, it's not Corona, but as a second option, it's pretty good. I mean, a Barcelona first team right back that can also kind of play left back as well. I thought we'd have seen that against Fulham, to be honest, with Hoover on the right, but no, I'd say with a fee I've seen between 27 and 37, but if it's to be believed that it's the base 27, I think that's a really good deal. I'd say an 8 again as an attacking wing back that we need to get a few more goals in there. Hopefully, you can't put a Barcelona first team player much lower than 8. I don't think.
What do you reckon, Tom?
Yeah, I'd agree. 8. I think it rises to 37 if we get Europe or something like that. I personally, I was absolutely buzzing. I didn't think we'd actually get him. I thought it was going to be another like sort of Tellez, where it's like an exciting. You're linked with them, and you're like, oh wow, this would be a good signing. Good price. Good.
And Fabrizio came out of nowhere.
Oh, when Fabrizio tweeted it, I think I could have. It could have been like we could have done a lap of honour around the stadium at that point. It was just like, I think it all proved to be a very, very good signing. I can't see many players that we were linked with that were actually much better options, apart from obviously, unfortunately for Finn, Jesus Corona, which didn't quite happen. The agenda didn't quite work. But solid signing. I'm very happy with that. I'll give it an 8.
And I'll copy the two of you as well. I'm going to give that an 8. It's obviously fit the bill of obviously Doc leaving. We needed someone that was pretty good in there, had that bit of quality. And like you say, although Barca fans didn't seem to really like Semedo, I think to have a player that's playing at that sort of level for the last 2 or 3 years,
Barca's a different level,
very
isn't
regularly.
It, really?
Yeah, exactly.
You're coming in to replace Dani Alves. It's not the easiest stuff.
Exactly. Keanu Hoover, Finn.
See, it automatically makes me think about Jota, that one, because it all broke at the same time. So if it was counting in like a sort of we'll take it as a flat. It's not a swap deal, is it? It's like a flat 2 different fees.
Flat 9 mil, we'll say.
Yeah, it's, as you say, if he's being rated that highly by people that know their stuff at Liverpool, I haven't seen too much of him. I just remember him coming on as a 16-year-old and the amount of puns I managed to make in my video about him cleaning up and all that. So it's good for puns.
Good sweeper.
That's the one. But no, it seems like a theme with this transfer window that we've just gone and signed a load of FM wonder kids. So it's like, will they develop? But his versatility to play 2 positions, which Nuno loves, a good fee for a very young player. I might just call it a 9. This one.
Ooh, wow!
Yes.
I might do.
What do you say, Tom?
I think if he was called Henry, I would have given it a 10 out of 10. To be honest.
Oh, we're going to call him that anyway, aren't we? That's what,
100%. I'm very, very happy with this signing. I'd probably say an 8 or a 9, to be honest. I genuinely, when he played against us, I was really, really impressed. And he was 16 then. He's had 2 more years to develop as a player. And I mean, the fact that Liverpool fans were that gutted to see him go, I think it's a solid 8 or a 9. I think at the end of this season, I think people will see why we paid the money for him. It was only 10 mil to rise into
just less
rise
than
into 13 or something. So bargain, absolute steal at that price. I think really in this market. So 8 or a 9.
Yeah, you lot are going to think I'm copying. I'm going to say an 8 or a 9 as well. Cause,
you go first next, Dave. You can
I'll go first. Homegrown as well. We'll get that when he's 21. So, for that sort of money, a player of that calibre, quality, versatile, like you say, I think that's a very decent buy for Wolves.
Homegrown at the club as well, won't he be for Europe?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why FM save a lot easier.
Yeah.
Nice, yeah.
Big FM21 save income.
Yeah.
Marcel from Lyon. I I'm going to go with an 8 on this one as well. I think for the price, added some much needed experience to the squad. Again, someone that could play in the middle or on the left side of the defence. Obviously, we've only seen sort of 90 minutes plus about 6 minutes against City, and he's looked okay. So I think for less than 2 million, you can't really argue with that. Tom, I'll let you go next on this one.
Yeah, I think this is gonna be a really underrated signing, to be honest. His first game against Sheffield United, I thought he was superb. Really similar to Johnny, just solid defensively. Didn't really put a foot wrong. I would like to see him play at centre back. I think I'm really interested to see him play at centre back. Hopefully he won't get too many bookings. Apparently he didn't have the best injury and suspension record, which obviously is a little bit of concern. But for 2 million, I think it's a very sort of Giammattino-esque signing.
Risk-free.
Yeah, there's not much risk in it. He's experienced, and let's not forget he was in the team that beat City last,
Champions League semi-finalist,
a month or two ago. So, he's clearly got something about him. Only 76 rated on FIFA though, which to be honest is criminally underrated again. But yeah, I'm gonna say an 8 out of 10. I think that's a very underrated bit of business.
What are you saying, Finn?
If I'd have just seen that own goal, mate, it's a 2. But apart from that,
that is
PSG.
Amazing. Oh,
yeah,
that
it's
is
just
unreal.
Yeah, hopefully that was a blip. If we see anything like that, then yeah, it's immediately down to a 2. But no, yeah, equally I watched him in that City game and he was unbelievable at left centre back in a 3. So again, versatile, not Portuguese but speaks Portuguese, which I think is key for helping him sort of settle. So yeah, I don't want to give another 8, but I don't think it's quite a 9. I'll just go 8 anyway. It's not a 7. I'll give him another 8.
Next up is Mattia Sarki. I'm joking. We won't discuss that.
Injured already, isn't he? Injured for ages.
Yeah, he's done his. He's injured, a really bad injury until the new year. Yeah.
It's Harry Burgoyne all over again.
Literally. We've got Vitinha next. I'm gonna go with 7 on this one. Only because, obviously, we've got him on loan. Again, fairly highly rated. From what I've seen of him, I don't think... It wouldn't surprise me to see us not keep him next season. I don't think, at the moment, he's got enough to play regularly for Wolves and fit our system as well with how we play. So, I think there's a little bit of quality there, don't get me wrong. I've seen clips of him and seen games that he's played previously and he's looked good. But I just don't think... I hope I'm proved wrong, but I don't quite think he's the man to become that Wolves number 10 that everyone's been praying and hoping for. What do you reckon, Tom?
I'm stuck between a 6 and a 7.
Ooh,
I'm not convinced. Like, there's just something about him that sort of screams a little bit of like João Teixeira, if you know what I mean.
Oh mate, he was a baller though, wasn't he?
Where like
that Brentford game, mate, he was
his first few games were amazing, but I think you sort of after a while you just realise that maybe he's not quite there yet. I think 20 million is comparative. I mean, this market isn't too much, but for Wolves, it's like that's a decent amount of money to spend. I mean, in all fairness, we haven't really seen much of him, so I think it'd be a bit unfair of me to say.
Yeah,
I'm just not. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I would have liked us to get maybe a more experienced attacking midfielder, someone that we knew was that could genuinely like unlock a defence. I don't know whether. I think it's mainly his lack of professional football, but then Neto was the same and Vinagre was the same. So yeah, I don't know. I'd say 6.5. I'm gonna go with this 6.5.
Throwing 0.5s about.
Yeah, I'm getting too cocky.
What do you reckon, Finn?
Yeah, I'm gonna go 7 as well. It's just I know with inflation and stuff, but like Neves for 16 and then this bloke for 20, and he's not as highly rated as
Neves was there.
As Neves, and it was a bit. I know that was a bit of a bargain, but is he going to be as good as Neves for that price? As you say, it is quite a lot for Wolves. I think it's weird because I've seen him play in advanced roles, but I've seen him play deeper as well. So could you see him in I'd only really trust him in a 3. Maybe he doesn't seem to be very physical that you'd want him to be able to hold his own in a Premier League game in a 2. But I said that at the start about Neto, as I said that he looked quite small and couldn't hack it in the Premier League, and look what he's done. So I'm happy to be proved wrong. There's obviously something in him that Porto fans were gutted to see him go. And I think he probably is a grow your own João Moutinho, isn't he, if it goes well? So
stick him in a bath.
It's not a bad
grow.
Yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, hopefully he becomes a 9 or a 10 and becomes the next João, but we'll see. I've got quite a bit of confidence in him, to be fair. He had a good first touch, all of that you'd want on your debut, and let's see if he can build from there.
And the last one is Ryan Ait-Nouri from Angers in France, left back in on loan, obviously with an option to buy as well. Finn, we'll start off with you. I'll let you talk about him first.
Since Talking Wolves obviously broke it back 2 years ago, was it? We did ITK for so long. Yeah. So I've kept an eye on him. And especially, I was literally didn't take my eye off him in that PSG game the other night, and he's pulling out McGeady spins against the champions, and you're like, yes, that is my new left wing back. I think very, very confident. It's pronounced really weird, isn't it? That when I heard him say it the other day,
it's literally Ryan Ait-Nouri.
It's good for Wolves as well, isn't it? For Ait-Nouri, so that's going to be used so much. But no, yeah, I think as an attacking wing back again, which I think, as I said, we'll need to be able to get the goals that we'll need to achieve what we want to achieve. Looking really good, defensively solid, and look quite strong as well as skillful, and quick as well. And as I say, that PSG game wasn't great for his defensive things. 6-1 obviously, but as a sign-in, FM wonder kid again. I mean, Jeff Shee must have just been playing that, I think, and it's hard to complain in it. And 20 million, if you getting him for cheaper than we're going to sell Vinagre, if everything goes to plan, then that's crazy business. So I'm going to go for a 9, I think.
Ooh, big 9. What do you reckon, Tom? Is he just a more polished Ruben Vinagre?
I think he is. He really is. He when I watched him, I did think, right, okay, I can see why they've it's very, very similar player. They're sort of cut from the same, tree almost. Where they're just
step over tree.
Yes, yeah, the step over. They're produced in the factory of fullbacks that try and break the step over world record. Somewhere in the world,
before crossing the border,
somewhere in the world, there's a factory that pumps these lads out and just sends them to random places. I'm very excited.
Quadrado's the founder. Sorry.
No, I'm very excited for this signing. Personally, I love a French player. So the more French players at Wolves, the merrier, I guess. Yeah, I'm very excited for him. I think he's a more polished Ruben Vinagre, like you said. He looks good defensively, actually, really good. Doesn't look like he can get beaten very easily. He doesn't look the quickest, but he covers ground really quickly. He's a bit like Dendoncker. Like you look at Dendoncker and you think, oh Jesus,
running backwards.
He obviously he runs like he's got a stick down his t-shirt, but he covers the ground really quickly. I can see him he's quite tall, isn't he? He's like 6 foot or something.
I think it's about.
He's quite tall for a fullback. Yeah, and he looks good going forward. As long as he's got decent end product, then he's already an improvement, I think, on Vinagre. I'm really excited for this year. I'd say 8 or a 9. I'm probably going to go with a 9 because I think he'll hit the ground running.
Well, now we chucked 0.5s in there. I'm going to go an 8.5 on Nathan. I think, like you lot said, I literally just echo what most of you lot said. I'm looking forward to seeing how he gets on. Player that's been very highly rated, chased by some of the biggest teams in the world. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. I was going to do ratings on our sales, but we have gone on and spoken way too much. But we do want to say goodbye to our fallen soldiers of Ming Yang Yang, who has left the club this summer to join Grasshoppers.
Oh, what a shame.
Jordan Graham has gone to Gillingham. Philofos Hawaii, who is still without a club, unfortunately. So it is sad to see them go.
We extended Bonatini's contract though, didn't we?
Yeah, apparently so. Can't wait.
Strange one.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's move on to the questions now, guys, before we finish off. Obviously, these are going to be quick fire. We've got to try and get through these as quick as we can. So we asked earlier on social media, for your questions. Question from Ad Seedaway to kick us off, lads. Just give me a name. Finn, who do you reckon will have the biggest impact out of Vitinha, Silva, Hoover, and Ait-Nouri? Tough question.
Well, Silva's got a man in front of him. Vitinha's arguably got a man in front of him as well. I think up until Johnny's back, probably going to be Nouri, I'd say.
Tom, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I agree. The man himself, Ait-Nouri. Yeah.
Big Ryan. Yeah, I'll back that as well. I think, like you say, Vitinha, as you lot heard, I'm not too convinced with. Fabio Silva, I think long term will. Same as Keanu Hoover, but I think Ait-Nouri, especially this season, could play a massive part in the team. Soccer in the South, Wolfman Jeff, he says updates on Martial's recovery, but I've not, unless you lot have, I've heard nothing about that.
No,
unfortunately.
strange, isn't it?
No.
Yeah.
Brad Fisher is a genuine, non-biased opinion on the summer signings, which obviously we've sort of given. All well and good hoping they'll impact the squad, but do you guys think any of them will actually be a crucial player now or in the immediate future?
I would have.
I'd
probably lean more on the no, but I think that they will make a good enough impact. I think some people are probably underestimating how good some of these kids actually are. They're no mugs.
Well, like we just said, I think Ait-Nouri is going to play a big part. I think Keanu Hoover will get a lot of cameo appearances and probably gain himself a few starts as well this season. I always think back, it was Alan Hansen that said you can't win anything with kids. I always think back to that and I think, you know what, give him a little bit of time, let him bed in. You know, we've got, after this international break, they'll have a good amount of time to bed in, and it'll be interesting to see. And a lot of the newer signings, obviously as well. You got Hoover and so on, and Ait-Nouri who are going to be at Compton with Nuno. Not going to be many people there this week, so you know he's got time to sort of try and bed them in anyway, and try and convince them, or you know teach them our system and so on.
Yeah, give it half a season.
Yeah, right. Brad Bagnall, are we a stronger team than we were at the end of last season? Now the transfer window has ended. What do you reckon, Finn?
I think if you went off on overall squad, then yes, but like first 11, I think that's debatable. As you say, with signings come in and be crucial. There's only really Semedo there that's going to be a guaranteed starter, and then you're basically just comparing Doc and Semedo and one of Podence and Neto and Jota, aren't you? Really, because they're the only real changes. And I really want to sit on the fence and say it's about equal, but I think Semedo, in what he lacks in maybe goals, I think he's a much better technically, and Neto, as we were saying earlier, I back Neto to get just as many as Jota did last season. So I'm going to be positive and say yes, it is. We've improved.
Yes, Tom, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think we have. To be honest, I think if you say that if we've improved the whole squad, then we have improved because we've got a better squad. We've got better options off the bench. I guess my only concern would be I'm not sure whether Traore and Semedo will work on the same wing. I think they're almost too similar. I think obviously there's a lot of pace there, but I think they were sort of getting in each other's way. I think they might sometimes get in each other's way. But no, yeah, overall, I think we have improved. I think it's probably one of those where it is, look to the future, which a lot of people don't want to hear. But at the end of the day, that's what we've gone with this summer, and we've just got to accept it and back who we've brought in, really.
I just think almost this season could be almost, folks have looked at it thinking, right, we're not in Europe. We should have enough not to obviously go down or be involved in that relegation scrap. Use this as a bit of a transitional period. Give these young lads 1 year to bed in next season. God knows what will happen.
That's a good shout.
It could be a really stronger season. So that's why I think might be something like that. Big question here from Stephen Thompson: is Nuno all that? Part of a manager is good man management. We can keep 11 players happy if they're guaranteed to start, but can he keep 20 players happy when he's got a competitive squad and needs to rotate? Well, I think yes, because he had like a 20-man squad last season and he kept everyone happy. There's only a handful of players I can remember which haven't being happy, which he's shipped off quite quickly, hasn't he?
I don't quite understand that, because it's like a lot of us have said we need a bigger squad, and then someone's asked the question saying, well, can Nuno handle a 20-man squad? And it's like, well, why do you want a bigger squad then?
I think it's now there's only one competition. Like if we'd have got to a few rounds,
yeah, that's true.
Now it's like, wow, one game a week. But I think there's not going to be many players not on the bench, are there? Probably not touching 18.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah, exactly. But I think we just added quality to the team, haven't we?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, some of us would probably question tactically sometimes whether we're too defensive. But I mean, look at where he's got us. Do you know what I mean? Like, I didn't think I'd ever see Wolves in Europe for at least another 4 or 5 years. So, I'll always back him. He does make mistakes. He's not perfect, but yeah, of course he's all that. Of course he is.
Yeah, I've never seen a Wolves manager.
How dare you?
Never seen a Wolves manager improve like single players when you're talking about players that we've signed. But Connor Cody played right back and midfield. All right, you're going to be my sweeper, and I'm going to turn you into one of the best in the league. Matt Doherty giving him that right wing back role. Listening to Jordan Graham, he said he had a big master plan for Jordan Graham to play wing back, and he never went for it. And I think that would have been a
I think Graham didn't want to play there.
Yeah, he said. I think he said in an
was.
interview he didn't want to play wing back, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
He played there one cup game, and he's actually really good.
What are you talking, Jordan? He's managing the he's managing the Champions League. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing?
That's why you playing for Gillingham.
He could.
He started all right at Gillingham.
Yeah. But as I say, there, like developing players. If you look at each one, like Jimenez, a bench warmer, and turned him into one of the best strikers in the world. Adama is probably the main one that people look at. So as a coach, which is his job first and foremost, making players better, yeah, he's unbelievable.
Shabab says, great pass for Fulham and a wobbly start to the season. Have we been found out, or is it just a case of allowing the squad to gel?
We had a 4-day pre-season. Like we said this with Adama. Right, when he first came in slightly injured, and he had a week pre-season.
Yeah.
And we said, give him until next season when he's had a full pre-season under his belt. And look what's happened, right? We've had literally no pre-season. Our players have played in most of the games. They've played upwards to 60 games. They've had no break. They've played international football alongside that. They've also had to come back. They're going through a period of football where there's no fans and constant testing. And obviously it might not be that easy for them. Look, it's going to take a while. We know this. Players that come in, we've brought in 5 or 6 new players this year. They need to learn the system, which usually takes players at least 3 or 4 months.
It took Dendoncker half a year, didn't it?
We can't. Well, exactly. It took Dendoncker ages, and Dendoncker's, a brilliant player. We're talking about 18 to 20-year-olds that have come in, have to learn a new system, get involved in a new squad with no pre-season. So I genuinely think that I'd agree with Dave. This season, although fans might not want to hear it, it's kind of like a half write-off. Like, it's just about getting these players bedded in, and then I genuinely think with a full pre-season next season, a couple of new additions probably, I think this team will be fine. I think it literally is. There's just been no pre-season, and Nuno, we know Nuno wants a pre-season. I mean, his first one was 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be my answer.
That's a good answer. Move on to the last question off Twitter anyway. Matt, they said, as far as I'm aware, Fosun are doing okay for money. Since there are no fans allowed in the stadium, wouldn't this be an ideal time to press on with the stadium developments? For regular folks, it's all but impossible to get to watch at the Golden Palace. What do we think?
A bit too early, I think.
Mate,
how does it work with building?
Can we sell out?
Can you build stuff at the moment? Because people have to get close.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You can do building at the moment, but I don't even know if it's been written off or signed off yet. Anything like that.
Well, I remember reading something that said they're not. I don't think Fosun are convinced that they'd be able to consistently sell out a 40,000 seat stadium or something, which I think we would. But you are talking an extra 10,000 fans every week. So I don't know. I think it would. It's a good idea. Like, it's genuinely, like, if they wanted to do it, then now would ideally be the time to do it, because there's not going to be any fans until March or something stupid like that, apparently. So
Yeah.
yeah, it would be the right time to do it, but I think they're wary about money. I think that is actually one of the factors, that they're a little bit like,
Well, they don't want to spend however many million on the redevelopment, and then the government say, right, you're not allowed the fans in for another year.
Well,
You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
Moving on to a couple of questions off Instagram. Georgia said, what needs to be done to fix the problems we've been having with the free centre-backs?
Sell them.
Get
Get Ryan Bennett back in.
to be fair, with the centre-backs, I know we were talking a bit earlier on about Bolly being a bit shaky, but he had been having sort of a Dharma Traore there at right wing back. I think if we can judge him properly in a few weeks after he's had 4 or 5 games with a proper right back with Nelson Semedo there, I think that'd be a little bit more fair, to be fair. So it will be interesting to see how they get on. Again, he's one of the players that isn't on international duty, so he'll be at Compton with Nuno and hopefully sharpening up a few things in the system. So I don't know, Finn, what do you reckon? 3 at the back, is that back 3 our best back 3 at the moment?
Do you know what? It's going through my head now. It's the first time I've ever really thought it. We've got for like teams that struggle getting a left-sided centre half. If we say Bolly's better on the left, Marcel would play on the left, Kilman's on the left, Sace is on the left. Are we? I'm just thinking it now. Like, is Hoover nailed on if Bolly moves across? Like, that's so strange that you find so many left-footed centre halves. But I think at the moment, in a season, as you were saying before, like of all seasons to revolutionise and make this new look Wolves, when you've got 4 days of pre-season, maybe not the best time to have done it, but I think to keep something consistent, that back 3, they're pretty comfortable with each other. They have looked a little bit shaky, but now there's probably going to be a settled back 5 for a while. I think that may have changed things, having different wing backs every week more than we think. So I'm pretty confident in them 3 for a while now.
Oliver said, with our slow start like last season, do you still think we'll be able to finish as high as we have in previous seasons? Obviously with Manchester United, Man City, Chelsea and Spurs all having fairly poor starts too.
Mate,
Tom, what do you reckon? Because
sorry, it's just
it's all right, Finn. No, I think, we got 6 points already in our first 4 games. It took us about 5 or 6 games to get our first 3 points of the season last time out. So
yeah, and we still finished outside of Europe on goal difference. So
yeah,
I don't know. I genuinely think this could be one of the strangest Premier League tables of recent years. I genuinely do. I would not be able to tell you. We could finish 8th. We could finish 12th. It's a really it's going to be inconsistent this season. I think that's probably one of the things I would say, is that we're probably going to be a lot more inconsistent. But I think that's the case for a lot of teams. I mean, Liverpool have shipped 7 goals against Aston Villa. We did the double over them last year. I mean, I know they're a lot better. To be fair, they've had a brilliant window, and fair play to them. But I mean, 7 goals, Jota. I'm sorry, mate, but poor decision there.
Come home, Diogo.
Come home, please.
Let's talk outside.
Yeah. No.
Another question by Harry as well on Instagram. Do you think Nuno needs to change up the style thing once in a while when we play against the bottom half teams?
I think that's what he's trying to do, isn't it, with this with the new style, because we struggled with the Brightons, the Huddersfields, like the old Brighton anyway, not this new fancy Brighton. We always struggle with that, and obviously Fulham, we got the win. It wasn't pretty, but I'd have much rather had that than the Huddersfield results in the past, like old, what would that have been, Wolves 2.0 second season. So it'll get there. I think that style, he's seen it as well. He's not stupid, is he, that last season's results, I mean, last season, to be fair, we had a lot of good results against the bottom teams, and then our results against the top teams, apart from Man City, weren't that great. I think it's that first season that was key, with struggling to beat the relegated sides especially. So it's not too much of a worry. If we're beating them 1-0, I mean, it's not going to look great on the goal difference, but I'll take that any day over like the 0-0s that we were seeing before. So he's seen it. I think this Neto in deep thing might be the key to it, and Semedo a lot technically better to be able to I don't know, pass teams to death. Let's hope. So I'm not too worried about it.
And the final question: are you worried, Tom, about the lack of midfield options that we've got for the season?
A little bit. We always go back to it, but Alfred and Di, that beautiful man. Why couldn't? I mean, to be honest, when you tweeted that picture of Kondogbia, I sort of looked at it. I was just like, oh. I was like, is someone in the know here? But obviously we never.
No,
we paid not to keep him, didn't we? We paid not to keep him, Di.
It's so easy to get people excited on Twitter. I tell you that. Yeah, no, it's. I think we still need that like midfield enforcer, destroyer. Whatever you want.
Owen Otasawi, I'm telling you. Get him in there.
I don't know. We said that last season, and he didn't really get given a shout, did he?
He's too inconsistent, Otasawi. Like I watched him last season and one game, and he was unbelievable.
He looked like
and then I watched him. And then I watched him against Liverpool 23s, and I thought he was really average. But then I watched him play in the centre of a midfield three for the 23s last week, and he was brilliant. Like he just picked up the ball and just started a move from like within winning the ball on the edge of the area, he burst forward and we were 30 yards ahead after like a second. So it was ridiculous. So someone like him, like, or maybe having him as a reserve option when you do want something with a bit more steel in the midfield. I think even against the smaller teams, when you do want to attack a bit more, just so you've got a slightly more defensive midfielder in there, you can allow the wing backs to go up a bit more.
I'm gutted we didn't get Decore, to be honest. I was saying for about 2 transfer windows, I was like, can we please just get Decore? He's unreal.
He was the first eye-opener, wasn't he? With that Neves Matinho midfield, do you remember in the first Premier League season?
That was, wasn't it?
Decore, Capoue, it was like, wow.
I've been wanting Wolves to get
him
for ages. I'd seen him play a few times, and I think he'd signed for Watford before we went up, if I'm right in thinking. He'd been there for a while, and him and Capoue, I was just like, oh mate, that midfield is just like you just wouldn't get past them really. And obviously they were really good that season, but I think we could have done with one more, just that brick in midfield.
Right then, guys, that is all we've had. This has been one hell of a podcast, a long one today. There were a couple more questions on Instagram, so I do apologise that we've not read them out. So if you please do send some in next time, and I'll be sure to get them read out. Again, big thanks to Manscaped for partnering with us for the podcast, for the next few podcasts anyway. You can check out a link to them in the top of the description, whether it be on the podcast or whether you're watching / listening on YouTube, and Talking Wolves for the discount code as well. Tom, thanks a lot. It's been great having you on. If people wish to find you on social media, where can they find you?
So on Twitter, if you want to follow me on there, it's at Tom_Parker12, and then Instagram is Tom_Parker2412. So slight variation
just to confuse everyone.
Yeah. I'm sure I can tweet it out or something, or link it in the description, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll put it in the description for you, no problem. Finn, what about you?
Finn is how you wouldn't spell it, mate, every time. FINERRZ. 12-year-old me, not thanking him at all. But no, on everything.
Cheesinator.
Hey up. No one knows about that one.
PlayStation. You can find me at Dave as a Party on Twitter, or obviously Talking Walls at Talking Walls on Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. If you guys have got any other questions or want to comment on what we've said, if you are watching on YouTube, let us know. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave us a review. It really does mean a lot. But until next time, guys, enjoy the rest of the international break. But we will be back after the next few Wolves games to talk about what has been going on. And until next time, look after yourselves, and we'll see you all very, very soon.